All right. It's the Android Headline Show, episode 82. Right, 82 episodes already. That's crazy. It is not Thursday. It's Wednesday, October 22nd. My name is Jeremiah, and I'm joined tonight by Nick. I take that back. I'm all mixed up, man. Got my days wrong, got my co-host wrong. Nick is not here tonight. He had some work stuff come up, so it's just me and Alex hanging out tonight. Alex, you want to say what's up, man?
What's up, everyone?
So we're going to rock this thing out, have a good time talking about some stuff. It's the week after Nexus week, which means things slow down just a little bit, but that's all right. We still got a lot to talk about. There's a pretty good breakdown about the state of Android affairs, so we're going to dive into that a little bit, just look at some numbers. Google announced a new USB security key to go hand in hand with the two-factor authentication, your life a little more secure. We'll talk about that a little bit. This morning we heard about a new email project from Google called internally called Big Top, and then this afternoon, right after lunch on the East Coast, they announced Inbox. So this is not going to replace the Gmail app, but it's going to bring a Gmail-like experience to all of your other email accounts. Yahoo, Hotmail, Outlook, whatever you want to throw in there. We'll dive into that a bit. Google this week confirmed that Chromecast 2 is coming. Not a lot of details, but they're working on a second Chromecast model. We saw some more stuff about the Nexus 6 and the Nexus 9. A really cool app called PhotoMath that uses your phone's camera to do some math for you. There was a pretty big Android Wear update for the Moto 360 and the G Watch. Didn't hit the Gear Live yet, which I thought was interesting. But before we get into some of this news, Alex, anything interesting happened with you this week? I know you've actually been home pretty much all week, which is unlike the last, I think, like 3 weeks you were on the road.
Yeah, I think last week and this week I've been home. Yeah, the week before that I traveled, but next week I gotta travel again. Not a whole lot new. Got a couple of new phones. One I'm trying to charge up so I can actually show it, but it's the Sharp Aquos. I think I had it last week. But it's got, like no bezel. That review went out. ZT Max review went out. I don't think I have anything else new.
Cool. Well, we'll dive into some of that stuff later on too, man. But before I forget, I do want to make sure to mention we are giving away a Nexus 6 and a Nexus 9. That's a U.S.-only contest.
Yep.
That link you can find on the site. Just search for Nexus 6 contest. It'll pop right up. Link to it all over the place on the site also. That's pretty exciting, giving away both of those devices. We're also in a separate contest, international contest this time. We're giving away a Moto 360 in conjunction with Slick Wraps. So we've had Slick Wraps on the show before. Those guys are just phenomenal. We love them. And they went ahead and customized a Moto 360 for us. So we're going to be giving that away. Pretty cool. But let's go ahead and jump into some news here, Alex. As I adjust my microphone, make sure that's all working properly too. I'm just playing with the gain here, trying to get the sound just right. So I'm not trying to blow you guys out. But yeah, news stuff. So first things first. Business Insider ran this week an article about the state of Android affairs. This just really jumped into some numbers on where Android is, how Android compares on a global scale to iOS and some of the other like Windows, and really took a deep dive of the numbers. The first point that they made, I thought this was pretty interesting, was that business models that neglect or ignore Android risk severely limiting their market potential. So this is they're looking at, in particular, two platforms, Facebook and both, that Android is just out of the water, and Android actually has about twice the user base of iOS, just in numbers on a global scale. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They're right out of the gate making the point that if you're a manufacturer, you don't want to ignore Android as a platform. Android is growing faster than any of their competitors as far as mobile revenue, and that includes ad revenue. So in the second quarter of this year, Android's mobile ad traffic surpassed Apple's. So the total Android ad traffic was bigger than iPhone and iPad devices combined, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, Android is still behind iOS as far as ad revenue, but Android is actually growing twice as fast as iOS as far as in the area of ad revenue. So it's becoming profitable from a ad and mobile revenue standpoint. It's becoming profitable for companies to work with Android.
And the big reason why they go to iOS first is because Android, there's so many different hardware combinations they have to develop for. Like some maps work well on like a Qualcomm processor, but they don't work as well on a NVIDIA or MediaTek or even Exynos processors. With iOS, it's pretty much, one app fits everything almost, at least for iPhones, and then a separate one for iPads. And that's the big deal with Android is there's so many combinations because there's so many phones out there.
Yep. But even with that, Android is really blown up as a mobile commerce driver. This is like people buying things from their phones. They're able to track that as well. And Android devices now make up 1/5, so 20% of all mobile e-commerce orders are placed through an Android device, and that's up 26% year over year. So pretty good growth there. The F word a bit, fragmentation. Fragmentation is not the issue that it used to be. They say globally, 80% of Android devices are running either Jelly Bean or KitKat. In the U.S., it's about 90%, a little over 90%, are running either Jelly Bean or KitKat. The big thing there, again, with fragmentation, the big thing is Google Play Services takes care of that. I think Google said it was like 92 or 94% of all Android devices are running the most recent version of Google Play Services, which takes care of your security updates and that kind of thing. So another confirmation that fragmentation is not the issue, not as big of an issue as it used to be. Google's getting better about their quality, the quality of apps in the Google Play Store. Business Insider says that the Achilles heel of Android is still bloatware from wireless carriers and manufacturers. Stock Android, vanilla Android is good. OEM skins are bad. And not because necessarily those skins are awful, but more so because they create division in the Android product, and so people are confused about what Android is and what Android isn't. I know choice is a good thing, and that's one of the great things about Android is you have some choice. But Google dealt with this a little bit last year with Samsung, where people were, Samsung was pushing the Galaxy brand, and people were saying they had a Galaxy phone and not even knowing or understanding that the device was running Android. And that's a problem for Google and their brand. One wishes they best. Uh, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's some charts and things you can head over to the site, head over to androidheadlines.com and check that stuff out. If you want to jump into the numbers a little bit more, just growth, iOS versus Android, and Android growth in general. So pretty interesting stuff. Basically, Android's doing pretty well on a global scale. It's a healthy platform. We really don't have anything to worry about. So, any thoughts on that, man? I mean, it's pretty straightforward and nothing unexpected, but
There's nothing really unexpected there, but like you were saying with Google dealing with Samsung about people not actually knowing that their Galaxy device runs Android. I've run into that a lot of times. A lot of people, like even in my class that I just came back from, I asked them what kind of phone they have. They're like, "Oh, this is the Galaxy." I'm like, "So what does it run?" They have no idea. They just, I
right.
guess it just runs something Samsung made up or something. But I knew exactly what phone it was and what it ran. Probably even what version of Android. But yeah, that's the thing is nobody really knows Android, and that's why we're seeing powered by Android on boot up screens now. It's so more people know. Okay, this is made by or the software is from Android. I'd also like to see skins go away partially because on every Android device is a different experience. But that's also a good thing because OEMs put in a lot of features that Google doesn't, and Google kind of steals them later on.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the ambient display
Google.
that's on the Nexus 6, straight up from Motorola. There's some other examples
Yep.
I can't think of right now, though.
The quick settings and the toggles
Yep.
in the notification bar were a Samsung thing, and HTC early on too, in early builds of Sense, and Google said, "Hey, that's a great idea," and they incorporated that. They don't make any excuses when they find something that they like. They incorporate it into Android. So yeah, you're right. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It does present kind of a disjointed experience, and obviously purists like us really prefer stock Android, but that comes down to personal preference. I know some people
Yep.
that love Sense. I don't know too many people anymore that love TouchWiz, but they're out there too.
Nick
So
does.
we could joke because he's not here. Nick loves TouchWiz.
Yep.
That's a lie. Nick hates TouchWiz, but
Watch
pretty
him
cool,
pop up
man.
right now to talk about it.
I heard you guys talking about me. No, I don't. You know, I love TouchWiz. That's my favorite. So that's fantastic. But yeah, it's a pretty cool report. What else? We got this two-step security with the USB security key. I thought was really stinking cool. So this is a USB key that you insert into a thumb drive as an additional verification to complete your two-step verification. Instead of having to enter a security code, you have a physical key that you can insert into your laptop or desktop computer, whatever, to get access to your Google account. I didn't see any kind of information about cost or availability on this, but it replaces the security code that you're sent in the two-factor authentication process. You enter your username and password into to access your Google account, and then the next screen it gives you the option. Do you want to insert your security key, or do you want to get a verification code and enter that instead? But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. As long as the longer it takes, I guess, for us to get biosecurity stuff like Touch ID on Apple devices now. The longer it takes for us to get that incorporated into Android, we'll see these other options pop up while we're waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, and speaking of that stuff, it was uncovered in Lollipop that they actually have two-factor authentication by default now. So you don't really have a choice. You have to use it, which is probably a good thing.
You shouldn't have a choice. With as often as accounts get compromised these days,
Yep.
that needs to be a mandatory thing. Just adding that one extra step will save you a world of headache if there's ever a problem.
Yeah.
Um, hey, Nick jumped in, or he's trying to anyway.
Yeah, he heard
Can
us
you hear
talk
us?
about him and
Yeah,
turquoise.
we'll see how well this works. I don't know how well you guys can hear me.
Hey, we can hear you just fine, man.
That's good.
So Nick is not at home today. He's in a hotel doing some traveling, and Nick, we were just talking about how much you love TouchWiz. So um, we figured it was a good time for you to jump in and verify that.
My spider senses are tingling, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's great, man. Um, so we talked about the state of Android affairs, and we were just wrapping up this USB security key. Any thoughts on those?
I like the two-step authentication being default. That's something that I've used. I think when it came out, I can't remember how many years ago that was. What, 2 or 3? And that has
Yep.
saved our butt, because I know my wife's Gmail account, I don't want to say got hacked. Somebody guessed her password. It wasn't exactly a good password, but we learned our lesson from that and stuck two-step on it and never looked back.
Yep. Yep. And it really, I mean, it needs to be something that's required. It adds that one extra step. It only takes, an extra 15 seconds to make that, to get the verification code and enter it, or now use this USB security key when that comes out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
It's so easy, and honestly, I don't think I have to put it in more than maybe once a month. I mean, as long as you're using the same devices, you pretty much never have to re-enter that thing.
Yep. So let's talk about Inbox. You guys get into that at all today? I saw there were a couple of sites that got early access to it. I couldn't get in yet.
We don't have any friends at Google, so we didn't get any invites.
Yeah, lame.
It's only Googlers and friends of Googlers that are getting it, so we didn't get one.
Well, if you get into Google's inbox service, you're supposed to be given some invites, according to what Google says. And it's
but
invite only.
they're not available just yet. I think I heard they'll be available on Friday or next week.
Yep. And the APK is downloadable. We've got it on the site if you want to side load it. It's also in the Play Store. But once you download the APK, you load it up, and it tells you need an invite to activate it. So.
Yep. So the APK is kind of useless right now.
Yep. But this is Google's take on a stock email app that handles other accounts besides Gmail. It's got some new features, something called bundles, where Inbox will expand on the categories that they introduced to Gmail last year, making it easy to deal with like similar types of email all at once. If you've got a bunch of bank statements or a bunch of receipts that you've got uploaded into Gmail, you can group them easily and review them. You can archive them. It just makes managing things a little bit easier with some more powerful tags. It's got something called highlights. So this is going to pull key information from important emails that you've received. Things like hotel or flight information when you're traveling, documents, or even photos that you might have sent to you from a family member or a friend or something. It's going to display that information and pull things like flight information. It'll pull from the airline's website, even though some of that information might not be in your original email. Google will go crawl the web and find that and bring it to you and display it side by side with your email so that you don't have to go to the airline's website and see the flight itinerary, stuff like that. So it's pretty powerful.
It's basically Google Now meets Gmail.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great way to put it.
And from what I've seen, what it's doing is it's encouraging you to archive your mail. So that's not deleting it; it's still keeping it in your inbox or in your email, just not in your inbox. So you can hit inbox zero a lot more. I don't have Inbox Zero because I have so much stuff I have to keep track of. But with Archive, I can just, search and find it. But if you delete it, it'll empty the trash like every 30 days. I think that's how Gmail does it. So that's the difference between Archive and delete or trash. Archive puts it in like the all mail folder, that big folder that everything goes to. So I think when I start using it, I'll probably archive stuff a lot more because my OCD doesn't like the no Inbox Zero.
Yeah, I think for me, I need to learn to use Archive a little more because I'm really bad about that in my Gmail.
Yep.
I'm with you, Nick. I've got like, I don't know how many thousands of emails from the years in my Gmail account, and I don't have anything archived. It's in my inbox. It's all red. I make sure that there's nothing stays on red. I'll mark it red so that I know the difference. But I don't work out of my Gmail account that heavily. For the stuff that I do need to keep tagged, I've got stuff tagged for Android headlines. I've got stuff tagged for some of the other writing that I do, some of the music websites and stuff. But it's all just with the tags in Gmail. Nothing is archived. Maybe I'll use it a little bit more with Inbox once I can get into it. I also don't have the categories turned on in Gmail. So the new categories that they rolled out, important, I don't even know what all, there were like 4 or 5 of them. I turned those off because I was missing stuff. It was frustrating.
There's primary, social, promotions, and updates. There's also forums, but I turned that off because a lot of the stuff from our group that we use internally goes there, and I miss it. But that's when I first rolled it out, I was missing stuff, so I turned it off. But after that, I found out that you can drag emails to like your primary, and after that, it'll learn that other emails like that will go into your primary box instead of the other ones.
Yeah, I don't care that much. I just don't. It's not that big a deal.
And updates, promotions, and the other one, everything that's in there is just like stuff I don't need to deal with. So
yeah.
I just kept it on.
Exactly, and I ran into the same issue you guys did when they first introduced that. It was like I didn't realize it didn't notify you for all those emails. So all of a sudden, a week later, I look at my inbox and I'm like, oh crap! I have like 12,000 unread emails. This is no good. So, I check through there and then I realize, oh, these 12,000 emails are garbage. Okay, cool. This is just a spam filter now. I pretty much go through once a week and maybe gloss over what's in the other tabs and just delete them all.
Yeah, because under the social one, I mostly get stuff from Google Plus, and in promotions, it's mostly stuff from, different sites that I shop at, Amazon, eBay, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crap you don't want to read.
The only ones that really matter is primary and updates is where a lot of shipping notifications come in.
Exactly.
So yeah, we'll keep you posted as we get access to it. We'll put together some walkthroughs and but Inbox for Gmail looks interesting. You can incorporate your Gmail account as well as other email accounts. What besides? Did you guys see anything besides Hotmail or Outlook rather and Yahoo?
Those are
what other ones can be incorporated? Okay.
There's probably other ones. I mean, you could probably do like if you have your own pop server for your work or whatever, you could probably use that. I don't think it would be a big issue.
Yeah, I imagine it works probably pretty similarly to the stock Android email client. This is probably just their way of bringing that out with more features.
Yep.
You just provide a custom server.
Yeah, hopefully providing a better experience than the stock email app, because that's pretty much garbage. At least it was last time I tried to use it, I don't know, a year or so ago.
Yes. At the very least, what?
I was going to say, I've been using it since like 2012 when I last worked at my old job. Since then, everything's been Gmail.
It used to be really bad. I think it was sometime this year they updated it to look just like the Gmail app. So if you like the Gmail app, it pretty much functions the same way. I use it for work now because it's pretty competent. Yeah, the old one was garbage, though.
Yeah, it's also in the Play Store now. Or it was in the Play Store.
What, the email
And
app?
they'll probably keep
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they'll probably keep it because they still want to, just like with the stock messaging app in Android L, they want to present a open source AOSP option, even while they're, rolling out the Gmail and now inbox apps that are going to be proprietary and closed source. So that other email, the stock email client, will still be available, I would imagine. So yeah, we also got confirmation this week that the Chromecast 2 in the works. We got details on it. We just got confirmation that it is coming. Google's VP of Product Management, Mario Quiroz. I know I'm pronouncing that. I apologize, Mario. But he was talking a little bit about it in an interview and said that they're working on a Chromecast 2, and then he kind of shifted gears and talked about how great Chromecast was doing for them. That thing's still selling well.
So well than more or better than the Nexus Q or probably Google TV ever did.
Absolutely. Some of that's price point, and some of it is the fact that it's super easy to use.
I think it's probably more price point than it is the simplicity. But you're right; those are the two big reasons why people buy it.
I'm interested in Android TV and checking out the Nexus player, but I have no real hurry to do that because Chromecast works great. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a need to find another solution. I just want to play with it. Just want to see what Android TV is all about. But it has Chromecast functionality built in, which is also great.
I actually have a Nexus player coming soon. I ordered it before it passed through the FCC though.
So now you're
Yeah, there you go. For me and the people I know, I think Chromecast has been such a big deal, not just because it's easy, but because it's cross-platform and it's cheap.
Yeah, that too.
I don't know, it's just nice that you have family that comes over or whatever. Not everybody's gonna want to have an Android phone. Not everybody's gonna want to have an iOS phone, whatever. But it doesn't matter. You jump on YouTube, you throw videos on the TV. It's great. They did a good job with integrating it with everything.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with the Chromecast 2 probably next year when that rolls out. What, if any, additional functionality it adds. If it's a more powerful device or, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it really hit the FCC, the new Chromecast, but I don't think it's going to come out this year because they're going to want to get it out, weeks before holidays start because they're going to sell a lot for the holidays.
And right now the focus is on
4K update with more format support.
For Showbox?
Yeah. Yep. Could be more format support, better mirroring support, maybe more powerful, so you can do more with it.
Yeah, we're still supposed to get that big Chromecast update where you don't have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi that you use it in, the backdrop stuff. I don't think we have that update yet, do we?
No, because that it's based on just location and proximity, and we don't have that yet.
I wonder if that's going to come when the Nexus player starts shipping.
I just assumed that was going to come sometime around Android L, but
that's what I was assuming.
We haven't seen it.
Well, L hasn't really come out yet either. It's just dev preview so far. November 3rd is when it's supposed to be hitting tablets.
Backtrack just a little bit for Inbox. We did, Duncan in the Q&A here says that he can confirm that Inbox work with Exchange. So if you need it for work, good deal. Thanks, Duncan. Appreciate it, man. But yeah, so we'll keep you posted on Chromecast 2 also. Other news or rumors? Anything else that hit you guys hit this week you guys want to talk about? No? Cool.
So.
Well, then let's go ahead and talk about some hardware. Big hardware stuff this week was just trickling over from last week. Nexus 6 and Nexus 9 stuff. We got a pretty good Nexus 9 video walkthrough from a site in South Korea or China. I don't remember where that came from.
Might even be Taiwan, since that's where HCC is at. I don't remember where it's from.
And that's my fault. I didn't check to see exactly where that video came from, but
And you wrote
countries in Southeast Asia. I did write it up too. It's a pretty solid walkthrough. It just goes through the specs, but you get really good hands-on in the video and get a feel for the size and a little bit of the performance. The screen looks phenomenal. It's interesting just because it's a 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's going to be different than what we've seen from any Android tablets so far.
Yeah, it looks a lot like like an iPad from the front, but the reasons for that is because it's 4:3, just like the iPad. It's just a black slab, which is pretty much an iPad and any other tablet. So I mean, there's only so many ways you can make it look.
The back is looks like a matte finish, like the Nexus 5.
And Nexus 7 too.
And the one in the picture is the white one, is the same color.
The white one will
which one-
probably be like a harder plastic, and the black one will probably be softer. That's how the Nexus 5 was. Nexus 7, I think, was only in black. But that's how the Nexus
we didn't
5
get white
was.
one. Yep, so that's pretty cool. It's good to see that in action. We did a whole bunch of Nexus 6 size comparisons this week. We also saw a video from the UK comparing the Nexus 6 and the Note 4. They're basically the same size. But we did a whole bunch of comparisons on the site this week, comparing the Nexus 6 with the older Nexus 5 and Nexus 4 phones, and any other flagship device that came out that you pretty much did a side-by-side comparison. So you can get a good feel for how big this thing is. But again, the way the back is rounded off, similar to the new Moto X, the 2014 Moto X, it's not going to feel as big as it actually is.
Yeah, and The Verge actually got hands-on with it this week in Mountain View, and even coming from them, they said it didn't feel as big as it actually is. Like, it's a 5.9-inch device, but it doesn't feel that big, which is what I expected, because after using the Moto X for a little while, it did not feel like a 5.2-inch device. It felt much smaller, about the same size as the original Moto X, which is 4.7 inches. So, you got more screen space, but it doesn't feel as big. It's also super premium with that QHD display. Nick is drilling over it.
Oh lordy, it's perfect. It's literally like everything I want. I think last week we talked about this, and I was so shell-shocked by the price that I couldn't coherently speak about it. But after reflecting on it again for a week, I realized, honestly, I don't think there's anything I would change about this thing. It's got everything. It's a QHD AMOLED, which you know how AMOLED crazy I am. We got the camera sensor from the OnePlus One. You got front-facing speakers. You got a metal, I don't know what you want to call it, ring around the phone. It's freaking everything. It's great. I just wish it was cheaper.
And I was as excited as we are for it, even though there were a couple of points that we didn't really like last week when we were talking about it. We were still really excited for the device, and I was super bummed out by that hands-on that The Verge did, because they just sounded bored. It sounded like they were trying to find something wrong with it, and they were like, well, it's actually a damn good phone. We can't really complain hardly about it at all. And it was ridiculous, man. I was so bummed that they were the ones that got the hands-on, because they're not excited about Android stuff. It was pretty obvious for the video.
They weren't the only ones, though. CNET, I think, Techno Buffalo, and a couple other, just regular tech sites, not Android sites, got hands-on of it. I haven't seen any Android sites get hands-on, but I didn't watch anybody else's hands-on either.
I know
Maybe
Ron
they were
Emilio
going.
from Ars Technica.
Yeah, I know he got his too because I saw it on Twitter today.
So that'll be a good one.
Yep.
But yeah, so I know Alex, you and Nick are both looking at it, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can afford it.
Well,
that's the big.
if you're looking at full price, you're gonna have to make that work.
Yeah, it's rough. $650 to $700 is not real easy to come by real quick.
And that's before shipping and taxes. So if I'm getting a 64 gigabyte, so that's gonna be about $750 at least.
Don't remind me.
Because Google Play shipping is just overpriced. $10 for ground shipping is just nuts. Hope Amazon sells it so I can get free or $3.99 next day shipping.
So here's another thing that I'm curious about with the Nexus 6. While we're on the topic of pricing, the last time we had a Nexus device on multiple carriers, and particularly on Verizon, was the Galaxy Nexus, right? That thing dropped at $699 full price, and then like 2 or 3 months later, when it landed on the floor, it was $399.
I think it was a bit later than that. I think it was like in May, April or May. So about 5.
So was it like 6 months?
Yeah, about 5-6 months.
So does that mean that next spring we will see the Nexus 6 drop on the Play Store for $399 or $449?
I think it's
thought.
With the Galaxy Nexus, they kind of given up with it being an actual Nexus, especially with Verizon and Sprint being involved with updates, because those are just not Nexus. I mean, you know as well as I do, because we both had the Galaxy Nexus on. Oh, you on Verizon, I was on Sprint. Those are not Nexus devices. I hope we don't see that because there's gonna be a lot of people pissed. I mean, I'd love
the price of it dropped with the launch of Jelly Bean, right?
Around that time. I'm not quite sure on the exact dates, but around that time.
Yeah, I was thinking it was about, because, I don't know, like, with this version of Android, it seems to me like this is the first time, possibly ever, that Google has actually tried to match, mostly feature for feature with a lot of the popular manufacturers. So, with the shift in, I guess, sort of paradigm with the OS comes a shift in the price, and I don't know, I don't feel like they're going to change that price unless we have, like, a 64-bit refresh device in the spring. And then maybe they'll, drop the price of the quote old one just to get rid of inventory.
Well, what I was hearing, I was actually watching Android Essentials podcast last week, and Jerry was talking about how this is basically Android Silver. And he also said he wouldn't be surprised to see another Nexus, in quotes, device come out in the spring, which we did hear. LG was working on an Android Silver device with the Snapdragon 810 that's coming out in Q2. We heard that about, I think, 3-4 months ago from EvLeaks. So I think we might see more Nexus devices, or maybe they'll call them something different. But I think we'll see more devices like this from Google that'll be, updated by Google, etc. And that's basically Android Silver.
That's a good point too, because we saw those Prime devices, right? The HTC and like the Galaxy S5 Prime that were rumored around the same time that we started hearing the Android Silver rumors. Yeah. So that makes sense. If they're working on some, both of those, I think the HTC one definitely, the M8 Prime, I guess, was the rumored name for it, was supposed to be run with the Snapdragon 810. So if we're moving to a 64-bit chip in the springtime, that would make sense. I could definitely see that happening. Jay from Android Central's got some really great insider Google information. He's got some good contacts there, so I tend to kind of believe the things that he mentions.
And
do with that what you will.
lately everything he said, it's been, spot on, and everything technical, he knows everything there. Um, I wish we had a guy like that here that was really technical with that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll find one soon for our team.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's a great point. What else for hardware stuff? Mizu announced some variants of the MX4. This was interesting to me because, Nick, you have an MX4 in your hands. I don't know if necessarily right, but you've got one to review, and I know you're pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm actually on the MX4 now because I don't have a charger for the laptop, so that's why there's no video because I don't feel like using this in the dark.
But I thought the camera was awesome.
Not in the dark. Well, not the front-facing one. Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with this device. I've never used a Mizu device before, but I mean, at least so far, I'm liking this better than Xiaomi's. I mean, I don't know if you want me to talk about it too much. I'm gonna wait till the end. But it's interesting to me that they're gonna already have like a pro version since they just launched this last month.
Yeah, but they're making a big push, releasing some of these new devices in different colors, and I'll have you dive into that here in a little bit. But I know you're excited about it. It's a pretty great device, other than the fact that it doesn't have LTE bands that work here at 8s, but the screen's amazing, the camera is just absolutely blowing your mind.
They're doing a gold version. They just lost all respect.
Well, it's Chinese carriers doing copy what Apple does. So.
Well, yeah, it has the physical home button and no other button. That's exactly Apple.
Yeah, it's the home button thing is really weird. It actually took me a while to get used to it because it's literally just a home button. There's no menu button. There's no back button. It was really odd at first, and then I actually had to look it up. But if you swipe up from the bottom bezel, you get recents, and then if you swipe up from the home button, it's the back button, which is very interesting. That was odd trying to navigate Chrome without a back button for a while until I figured that one out.
Yeah, that's how the Fire Phone is. Not exactly, but you have gestures like that for back and recents because there's only a home button, which actually looks more like Samsung's home button.
Yeah, it's screwy.
But then I mean, also Amazon's OS, so they kind of built it in to work like that, I guess.
Yeah, this is a little bit hacky, but it's whatever. It's their little style.
Well, cool. That was it for hardware stuff this week. Let's take a look at some software and apps. So, this PhotoMath app just hit today, I think, right? It was this morning?
Yeah, I think it was this morning.
It might have been the end. No, it was yesterday. It was the end of the day yesterday.
Okay. It's been a long week.
But, yeah, it has. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So basically, it uses your phone's camera. You take a picture of a math problem that you're trying to work out, and then it gives you the answer. And it actually works pretty well. It makes me wish that I was back in school taking a math class so that I could cheat.
Yeah.
But
I brought this to my siblings in college. They were happy.
Yep.
They need an app like this for networking.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
joke.
for real.
Because that's what I'm taking right now.
That'd be great. Take a picture. Tell me what's wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, this app doesn't do you any good if you need to show your work because it just shows you the answer. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and most teachers want you to show your work, so.
Right.
Yeah, probably for this reason, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. Nokia here, Maps. is also available for just about anybody if you want to go down and sideload it. This is Nokia's Maps app that they've had on Windows Phone devices since back in 2012. It's a really great Maps app. A lot of people swear by it because of the offline map caching that you can do. You can download maps and save them offline in case you ever get to an area that is not, that you don't have data coverage. So there's quite a few people that absolutely love Nokia here Maps, and now available for Android.
I think it was on the Nokia X when it first came out. I know Samsung had like an exclusivity with Nokia for a little while too, so now it's open to more Android devices. I'm not sure if it's all or just like, a certain version of Android. But Samsung had exclusive on that for a few months, I think now.
Yeah, they had exclusive for a while.
That was
Nokia's
kind of
website
weird.
says it's available for everyone.
That's good. Now, see,
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say that was a weird exclusive for Samsung, but I'm looking forward to trying this because at least in the past, I know when I go on vacation, especially if I'm going somewhere like another country or in the mountains or wherever where I've got no network, Nokia's Maps says but in the past because you can cache an entire area offline.
I know.
I really do.
I know with Google Maps you can download certain areas. I don't know if it caches per se, but I know you can download like the whole Detroit area or whatever.
Yeah, they might have improved it since I used it last, but last time I tried to do it, it's just such a small area that they let you do. It's not very useful. At least it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I was able to get I think most of Lower Michigan, but I never really tried it because I know how to get around here.
Yeah. When we went to Ireland in like 2011, I used the Nokia Maps thing, and I cached the whole country. It was great. It was
That's
like
awesome, especially when you're paying for overseas data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, look, airplane mode. Go.
Yep, that's fantastic. Nokia's website up at the top, it says that it's available for quote-unquote everyone. You scroll down a little bit, their general rule for compatibility is your device needs to be running at least Jelly Bean 4.1, and they recommend devices that have 6 gig of RAM or
So that's a good show for everybody. Except for
Android. That's
well, basically.
Yep. So, but that's cool. I'm looking forward to checking that out. I'm on the road all day for my day job, so I'm going to play with that and see how well it works compared to Google Maps. Pretty cool. Now, Android Wear got a pretty big update this week, too, for both the Moto 360 and the G Watch. So this updates to Android Wear version 4.4W.2, and it adds different for each watch, but it adds an off for the ambient mode on the Moto 360, a mood lighting for the Moto 360. It brings GPS integration and offline music playback, and also finally adds native support for watch faces. So, pretty big update. Have either of you guys, Nick, I know you got the Gear Live, and the update didn't roll out for the Gear Live yet. Have you seen that on your G Watch yet, Alex?
Nope. I was just checking for it, and it's still on W.1.
Okay.
What I also saw is now, you know how when it goes into, it's kind of right, but when it goes into like the sleep mode, you can still see the card on there. You can swipe it down and get rid of it and just have the full watch face. Which
yes,
is
that's
really
the best
nice.
thing. You can actually buy watch faces now.
I think it'll be better on the round ones, like the G Watch R and the 360, because I don't know. I like the round watch faces better than the square ones.
Yep, it makes me realize I should have just waited.
Yep. This update
All
also
right, so
brought the ability to swipe away notifications without dismissing them. So you can swipe them away and then they'll pop up again later. You're not actually clearing them out.
Yep.
Which is a requested feature. Pretty cool.
yes, much more useful than muting, which is useless.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, any other apps or anything you guys been playing with this week?
I don't think so.
It's been a pretty quiet week for me too. I've been playing with the new OS because I got the Fire HD 6 in to write a review about. So I've been playing with Fire OS a little bit. That's a good segue into what's new in your Android world. I'll go first this week because I already started. I've been playing with this Amazon HD Fire HD 6. It's a 6-inch tablet. It is actually a pretty good feeling tablet in your hand as far as like reading books and stuff. It's pretty solid. The Silk browser is okay, fast enough, but the biggest adjustment that I'm having is with Amazon's App Store and not having the same apps available or the same versions, and just kind of learning the different. Alex, like you said, the swipe gestures. Now the HD6 has the back, home, and search buttons on the bottom, so it's not all gestures.
Their tablets all have on-screen buttons. I don't know, with just a physical button on their phone. It doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it makes sense to them.
Yeah, I guess. But it's a good little tablet.
And their tablet hardware it's always been pretty good, at least the ones I've used, the HD and the HDX. So I'm not surprised at that. And that one's like $99, I think, for the 8 gig.
Yep. And so I've been playing with the some of the Amazon services too, instant video, because this came with a trial of Prime. One cool thing that I did like about it is when we requested the demo, we requested the review unit. They asked for my Amazon account email address, and it came already tied to my Amazon account, which I thought was great. So when I loaded it up, it said, "Hey, confirm your email address." All my Amazon stuff. Now, I didn't have a ton of Amazon purchases, but I bought a couple of books on Amazon, a couple of movies here and there, a couple of TV shows, and all of that stuff syncs right to the device, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't have to do anything, so the setup process was really, especially compared to some of the like weird convoluted. I just wrote a review for the Galaxy Avant, kind of a low-end Samsung device. And Samsung's setup is just like there's so many steps, even for the new Samsung stuff with the newer versions of TouchWiz. Whereas this was really easy, everything was already loaded up. Amazon did a really good job with that experience.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. It also came with this like bright purple magnetic flip case, which is a kind of cool design because it has this like origami like folding deal, so you can turn it into a fan pretty easily for watching movies and TV and stuff.
Yeah, I think it worked better on the bigger one, the 8.9-inch, like the HDX, because they sent me the black origami case when I reviewed that one last year. It was really cool. I mean, it just snaps into place, I think magnetically or whatever, and it's really awesome. I mean, you can stand up in landscape, portrait, whatever. So it's awesome for movies and stuff.
Yeah, it works really well, even on the smaller tablet.
Yep.
Pretty cool. That's about all that's new with me. I got some other stuff on the way, but that's all I got this week.
So I've got a new Chromebook.
Hey.
Tegra K1 Chromebook 13 from Acer. And so far, it's not too good. I think it's still because Chrome isn't really optimized for ARM-based processors. I've noticed a lot that when I have Gmail or Google Plus open, it lags a lot. like, I don't know, like a 5-year-old Windows PC or whatever on like Windows Vista or something. It's pretty bad, and this has 4 gigs of RAM, so I don't see any reason why it should lag. Their Core i3 model was a lot better when it came to performance, I think. But again, I think that's because Chrome OS is more optimized for uh, those processors instead of ARM. Battery life is about, where they said it was. I think they said 11 hours for the 13-inch model, 13 for the 11, so opposite. And I usually you can get through like a full day and still have about 30-40% left. So that's about 10 hours or so. So you can probably do a little more than that. It's nice having the 13-inch display, but I wish it was higher res, like at least 1080p is still 1366 by 768. I think that's all I have that's new. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm bummed to hear that Chromebook is not living up to your expectations, but
Yeah, particularly with that Tegra, but this seems to plague Tegra devices in general, and I think it's just, like you said, between optimization and then probably driver issues too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not optimized because I had the first Samsung Chromebook that was ARM based, and it has some pretty bad lag issues as well, which is mostly why I stopped using it.
Yep.
Plus, you couldn't watch Netflix at the time because it didn't support ARM.
well, yeah, Nick, what's new with you? Tell us about this MX4 a little bit. I figured next week you can really dive into some of the details on it because we'll have video. You can show it off a little bit, but tell us a little about the MX4 and anything else you got going on.
Yes, and maybe I'll have my review by then, but don't cross your fingers. You never know. All right, let's see the build of the thing. I'm pretty sure the sides are metal. It's difficult to tell because the back is like this faux metal thing. I think it's kind of like what LG did with the G3, where it's got this removable back that is definitely plastic, but the outside feels just like metal. And then the frame looks really similar to an iPhone 6, so it's kind of like a rounded metal, and then even on the bottom, the speaker holes look very similar to the iPhone 6, which is interesting since it came out, a couple weeks beforehand. It was probably based off of those leaks and stuff. The phone itself from the front looks kind of like a weird cross between, gosh, I don't even know, a whole bunch of different iPhone models, basically, and then the back looks like some random HTC phone. So it's a really weird mashup of styles. I don't know if it's visually very attractive on the outside, but the OS I like a lot. So true to a lot of the other Chinese manufacturers, they sort of did their own little take on Android where they modify a bunch of stuff. Particularly the visual style, I like because it's not just an iOS clone. It looks a lot more like what LG did with the G3. So it's more, I guess, pastel colors. Everything's flat like everything else is now. It's just, in general, looks very similar to the G3. A lot of circular icons and stuff like that. Function-wise, like I was saying earlier about the back button, the weirdest thing was just having only a home button, and then everything else is gesture-based. So that totally threw me for the loop for the first half a day or so when I used it. Let's see what else. Sound is phenomenal on the thing. The speaker is ridiculously loud. Although they have some weird sound options. Like when you use the volume rocker, it seems to only do media volume unless you're on a call. I can't figure out how to adjust ringer volume without having to go into settings and adjust it. And then, like, putting it on vibrate mode, you have to use the toggle in the quick notifications. The quick toggles in the notification section. I don't know, just some weird UI design things here and there, but you can get over it because of the rest of the stuff. The camera, like you were saying earlier, this is the same sensor that's on the Xperia Z series. So it's your 20.7 megapixel Sony camera, and the sensor is quite a bit larger than is found on most phones. And I've found because of that, it does a really, really good job with lighting, not only just balance, but lighting in general. So low light shots, like you've been talking about plenty on the Xperia series, Alex, they're just really, really good low light shots. The software is really nice. So you have a manual mode that gives you pretty much full control over the whole thing. There's even manual focus, which I was going crazy about in Android L last week, just adding manual focus. So you got that, you got ISO settings, all the good stuff. Just really impressive so far. I've only used it for a day and a half now, but I'm liking it.
Well, that's what's up, man. I know you said you were really impressed with that camera, so which is high praise from you. That's exciting.
Is it better than the OnePlus?
I'm leaning towards yes.
Wow.
I think the only thing that the OnePlus still does better is it's got a faster shutter. So this thing has kind of a weird delay from when you press the shutter button. It's like maybe a quarter to a half a second delay. So like when I'm taking pictures of my kid, his head's blurry, basically, in all the pictures, which I pretty much run into with every other phone out there except the OnePlus One, and even then it's probably half the time with the OnePlus One. So I don't know. He's an 8-month-old baby. What are you going to do?
Right, right.
Also, that camera is the one that's going to be in the Droid Turbo when it gets announced on Tuesday. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I tell you what, the more phones this sensor gets in, the better, because this thing freaking rocks.
That's the Sony, the 240?
I don't actually know. Well, the
I think it's
240
the only. I think it's the only 20.7 megapixel one Sony has, because for a while Sony was the only one putting those in, because it was in a Z1, I think. I know it was in a Z2 and a Z3 and the Z3V.
Yeah, and I don't even think we have model numbers for those, because I know I've looked that up before, and it just says like 20.7 megapixel sensor from Sony. It doesn't give us any indication of whether or not they've improved it over the last, handful of Xperia releases.
Well, I mean, you can tell by the pictures that come out of like the Z1 versus the Z2 versus the Z3. Even though the Z2 and Z3 are probably close to the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they've improved it. I just like seeing model numbers.
Right, absolutely. Well, cool. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap things up tonight? I think that'll about do it.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Cool. Well, yeah, that'll do it for the Android Headline Show, episode 82. You can find us, obviously, at AndroidHeadlines.com, on Twitter, at AndroidHeadline, Google+, Facebook, wherever you want to talk to us, get at us, man. Send us an email, shoot us a message, let us know what you think. If there's something we should be doing better. Nick will be back face-to-face next week. I will be out next week, taking a couple of days vacation. So Nick and Alex will be holding it down with a special guest. That's exciting. So we'll have a guest host. Nick and Alex will be hosting, and they'll be having somebody fun on with them to take my place. Just for 1 week, though, because I'll be back after that. But cool. Nick, Alex, it's always a blast. Thanks for hanging out.
Good joining you guys.
See everybody next week.
Later.